we'd just like to introduce you to this Year 2 talk.
With me, Miss Hughes.
And me, Miss Tiso.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy our presentation.
SATS are the statutory assessments that happen at the end of Year 2 and Year 6.
These tests are used to help us learn more about the strengths and next steps required in your child's learning and to enable them to reach national age-related expectations. The formal testing allows us to compare our results against schools nationally and to enable us to moderate our judgment. You can understand how their child's achievement compared with the national progress. The formal assessments are the arithmetic reasoning paper, 2 reading papers, and the optional spelling, punctuation and grammar papers. There are 2 maths papers, reasoning and arithmetic. The children will be assessed across the whole curriculum in both of these papers. The reasoning paper is designed to show how children select the mathematics they use to tackle a problem or question. The mathematical language is correctly understood, and they're working and explaining how they reach the answer. These 2 questions are some examples in our reasoning paper. The first question is an addition question. I have 9 shells and I have 3 more. How many shells does Amy have? This one is a 2-mark question. There are 40 crayons in the box, Sam takes 17 and Kemi takes 10. So there are obviously 2 steps to this problem. They can get 1 mark even if they get the question wrong by showing a correct method in working out. The reasoning paper also covers space, shape and measure. It covers 2D and 3D shapes and their properties, metric length, mass, volume and capacity, time and position. We'll look at a couple of examples over the next few slides. This question would be a verbal question, so we would give the child directions and ask them to circle which cheese the mouse ends up on. For example, the mouse goes forward 2 spaces. It then has a quarter turn anti-clockwise. It goes forward again 2 spaces. Forward 1 more space. Which cheese is the mouse on? Circle your answer. The other question they might come across is circling the shortest or longest time. This tests the children whether they have the understanding of minutes, hours and seconds. One of the other areas of maths that the reasoning paper looks into is data handling. This is where the children need to look at bar, block graphs, simple tables, diagrams and pictograms and analyse the answers. They need to be able to interpret the result as well as adding up totals.
There is an arithmetic paper. This focuses on the main 4 operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. There'll be 1-step and 2-step problems that the children need to solve. Simple fractions will include dealing with halves, thirds, quarters and ordering numbers. This could be ordering from smallest to greatest or vice versa. This could be working with odds and evens and 2- and 3-digit numbers. Understanding place value means children understanding the value of the hundreds place, the tens place and the ones place. We've done lots of work on this and they're very confident. And the money part of the paper could involve giving change and recognising how to add up different amounts. Here are 2 examples of questions that the children might find in the arithmetic paper. You can see that we are adding 2 2-digit numbers here. There will be space for the children to show their workings and we encourage them to do this. We've given them lots of different strategies over the years so far. For example, adding 10s then 1s and then adding those together. It might be working on a number line, it might be looking for number bonds and you can see a fractions question down here as well. Missing number problems form an important part of the work that we do in arithmetic, helping children to understand ways into problems and moving numbers around. As you can see, we have a 5 times 12 here. Now we don't teach the 12 times table at this point, but children know that in the multiplication you can move the numbers around to do 12 times 5, which they would be confident with. So it could be anything from 6 times 2 to 2 times 6. They would be able to have the strategies to work this out. And again, underneath you can see a slightly harder 2-digit and 2-digit addition, and we have the squares for the children to work with this.
In Year 2 there are 2 papers, one with text and questions next to each other so that children can see the text and see the question at the same time. The following paper is slightly more challenging with the questions in a separate booklet. All children will be given the opportunity to sit both papers, and there is no time limit on this paper. If a child is working below the age-related expectations, they will be given an opportunity to complete the paper, but this will only form part of our overall assessment as teachers. In both of these papers, we are focusing on the comprehension and fluency skills of the children. In paper A, they have a section of text with questions underneath. These could be multiple choice, detailed written answers, or they need to interpret a diagram.
Here we have 2 different question types. The question number 10 is an example where children need to pull out exact evidence directly from the text. Question 11 is where children are told to tick 1. There'll be several types of questions like this throughout the paper where they'll be given a very specific instruction. It might say underline 2 or tick 1 or circle 3, and children do find this challenging to follow the instruction that specifically, so we will encourage them beforehand and give them the experience of doing that. Again, we have 2 different question types here. As you can see in question 15, it says, why is water so important? Now, obviously, the children know from their everyday lives and their whole lives why water is important. That's not what's important here. What we need to write is the reasons given in the actual text. They must find the evidence from the text, not give their own opinions or thoughts. Question 6. As you can see, again, there's 2 pieces of information they need to give, and this information will also be in the text. As mentioned before, the second paper, paper B, is a little bit more difficult, but again, the children will be prepared to tackle this. The reading booklet and the answer booklet are separate, and there'll be different types of questioning in here. So, for example, they have to give their own opinions based on what they've read and be able to justify those opinions. They'll be looking for clues, so we call that the inference, when they're looking for reading between the lines, not just directly pulling out facts, and also identifying non-fiction features, so glossary, index, title, contents, and again they've had lots of practice of this as well. Question 4 here shows a find and copy example question. Children do find this challenging as well. Sometimes they must literally and directly copy exactly what they see written into the answer booklet. And again, we have question 5, which is a tick 1. We encourage them to look at the bold and the exact instructions so they know what to do.
Also, this is an inference question. It doesn't necessarily specifically say what the golden rules are. They need to read the text, understand what the text means, and then use that to answer the question.
This section of the SATS is grammar, punctuation and spelling, otherwise known as SPAG. It's an optional paper, but we do sit the paper here at Binfield. We think it's useful to help us assess and build an overall picture of the children's knowledge. There'll be lots of different types of questions which we will look at coming up. Spelling is also a paper that we do with the children. They're used to learning words and understanding the format of a spelling test, so there's no issue there. In terms of writing, that is for us to assess separately outside of the paper from their work across the year and work much nearer the time that we have set up exactly for this reason.
So what will happen is the children will have a booklet that looks much the same as this. We will read out the sentences, including the word we wish them to spell, repeat the spelling word, and then repeat the sentence. We will give the children enough time to write down their answer and check their answer should they wish. We also go through it all again at the end in case anyone has missed out a question.
Speaking and listening, children are teacher assessed informally throughout the year in this regard. We obviously spend a huge amount of time with them in different subjects and outside of the curriculum itself as well, so we have a good understanding of their vocabulary and their ability to present, to listen and to share their work and their feelings and thoughts. In science, this is something that must be assessed as well, and again this is done informally through the year. There will be no science paper. Children are assessed in terms of their scientific inquiry, then their ability to ask and answer questions and work scientifically in experiments, and other subjects and topics such as life processes and living things, materials and forces, and physical processes.
The SATS papers are not the only thing that we take into consideration. They form a large chunk of our evidence, but not all. At the end of the year, the children are assessed according to our opinions, which are then moderated with our senior leadership team. We look at their books across the whole year. We also look at any other evidence that they have given, and then an overall judgment is reached, and this is reported to the local authority and to yourselves.
Although we do assess formally and informally throughout the year, as we've already mentioned, the main part of the SATs are in the first half of the summer term around May time. To help us and to help your children, please don't refer to the tests at home. We prefer to call them quizzes or not mention them at all and just build them into the children's everyday work. Some children will be aware of them because they've had siblings go through the school already and they may have spoken to them about it, but we prefer not to talk about it too much as not to put pressure onto the children. To help as much as you possibly can, please help with home reading, the school books and anything else you'd like to read together as well. General comprehension, having good book chat when you are reading a book together, spelling, the lists we send home, and anything else when you're out and about. It's always very, very helpful. And maths, there's maths all around and every opportunity you can find, whether you're shopping or at home, anything you can do to help your child with maths, general addition, subtraction, multiplication and division will always help them and encourage them to do their best and be confident when they are at school.
So at the end of the year, your child will be judged as either working towards, meeting, or working at greater depth through all of the subjects. A certificate informing you of your child's end of Key Stage 1 attainment will be attached to your child's end of Year 2 school report. This does not affect your child, this merely informs us about where they are and if there's any interventions that we need to put in place to help them succeed next year. Thank you very much. If you've got any questions, please let us know.